Thanks for joining me. Today I want to talk about why I started painting on petrified wood. I know it's a very unusual thing, but I want to tell you all about it. First of all, how did I discover petrified wood? This is really interesting. I started painting, it just came to me. These symbols started coming to me back late 2019, and I started writing them all down. And then the symbols, started turning into paintings on paper and then later canvas. And that went on until for a couple of years, basically, till about 2022 when the lockdowns were pretty much over in Arizona. And we had a big antique mall down the street from our home. And my wife and I went to the antique mall. And we went there. We found a place that had some petrified wood. It wasn't very big, just some smaller and some hand-sized kind of pieces. So I just bought some. But the reason I bought the petrified wood is because I wanted to paint on it. The objective was always to paint on it. I didn't buy it just to buy it, to look at it, I bought it to paint on it. That's what I did. As soon as I saw it, I didn't know whether you could put paint on it or not, but I said this would be something cool to paint on. And there was some crystal there as well, and that's when I started painting on crystals as well. But that kind of went away after a while, but the petrified wood has always stayed. And here's what's interesting about the petrified wood. When these symbols were coming to me and I was creating canvases and drawing them on paper, I was getting the pure symbolic form of what I was catching in my mind on the paper, but not on the canvas, because at the time I was using the canvas I was using were heavy wood canvases, and then I was doing a what do you call multimedia experience on there. But I knew that these multimedia pieces that I first did, and they're very interesting, let's just put it that way, they were connected to the symbols. Even though they didn't have any symbols on them, I could associate them with them. They were like, they were associated. There was something about what I was doing that was associated with the symbols. The reason I'm telling you this is because when I started working on petrified wood, the symbols, just like on paper, came naturally on the petrified wood. So the petrified wood, then I'd take a small piece and it would be completely be covered with symbols, just like I used to do with paper. And that was interesting. So I loved petrified wood because every time I used it, and at that point I was using crystal as well, it would come out as a symbol or a bunch of symbols in the very beginning. So it was a symbol being represented on a canvas or on paper sometimes or on a mixed media piece, but it was a pure symbolic form with color that would come on petrified wood. It was just like a natural expression for me to do. It's completely natural. So then I went and got some more and started experimenting on it and painting on more. And I've been painting on petrified wood off and on ever since. But again, it's always stayed purely symbolic, pure symbols, and that has never changed. So why do I love petrified wood? Some of you are going to say, well, that's a no-brainer. But the thing is, the colors, the grain, the fractures, and the feeling of getting something and holding something in your hand that's over 200 million years old. Um, it's incredible. It's incredible that I'm not only painting on, but I'm holding something that's over 200 million years old. It, to me, that's just incredible. Um, Another thing is that every piece is unique. Some pieces will have more red, some are kind of on the yellow side, some are more green, some are blue, uh, different shapes, sizes, but it's all different. They're all unique and they're all beautiful. So there's a lot of different types of petrified wood. It's not all the same, and I just love that. When I got the wood, it wasn't like I just took it and painted on it. I would sit and I'd look at the colors and the grain and the mineralization, the patterns. Like every piece look like something different. Nothing was the same. Some had look like ruins. Some look like mountain ranges, architecture, landscapes with fissures running through them. It was incredible just to sit and look at the shapes. It was like sculpture mixed with these amazing colors. And the thing I always preferred though is I did get some polished petrified wood and I got some raw, and I always prefer the raw and painting on raw wood. And the reason being is it just seems to me like it's more powerful. Uh, and when it gets over processed, I know that brings out the colors, and I've processed a couple pieces, but it just seems to me too plastic looking, too over processed. All of the pieces I've just done on one side, and I think they look really nice. But I just decided I didn't want to mess with that. I wanted it to, like, I wouldn't, some of the pieces, like, I obviously washed the wood, but I would just paint on it the way it was. I wouldn't scrape anything off or change anything. I would just leave it the way it was, and I would take the side that I thought was the least interesting or I could paint on, and that was the side that I painted on. So uh, I just love the object authority, the surface effects, the something that's now holding my art, my mark, but also a great deal of time. I just love it. So you know, the other thing about petrified wood is when you're painting on petrified, especially a larger piece, 15, 20 plus pounds, but even beautiful smaller pieces or any petrified wood, actually, I'm dealing with something that's fossilized, a fossilized tree, a rock, a stone that is now over 200 million years old that used to be alive on the planet. And when I'm holding it, I realize that. And when I'm working with that, when I'm working with it, I don't realize that, because once I go to work on something, it's just completely instinct. There's no pre-planning. I just start making the mark. It just comes through me. And I know when I'm ready to do it because these symbols will just flash on and off in my head. And I'll let them flash for a while. And then I know, okay, I can grab a couple pieces or a piece and I can work on it because I've got the thing in my head coming to me, and I just have to let go and let the symbol do its work on the piece of stone. And so that's how basically I do it. But I live with these pieces for a while before I mark on them. I don't just bring them home and mark on them. I sit and I look at them and I study them and I really, really pay attention to them. And I decide mentally at some point where the mark's going to go, how it's going to go, and what it's going to look like. But that then just comes to me when it's ready to come, and I don't ever rush that process. So the stone, the wood is all around, and I'm looking at it, studying it, checking it out, and then all of a sudden the symbols pop in my mind, and I know what to grab and what to work on, shape color wise, to go with the symbols that I'm thinking about. You can imagine it's completely different than approaching a canvas, because you screw up on a canvas, you mess up, you can paint over it. You mess up on a piece of rock that's over 200 million years old that used to be a living thing, uh, you can't just paint over it. You've ruined it. And so I'm conscious of that, and I don't ruin stone, um, fossilized trees. I don't. I respect what Mother Nature is giving me to work on, and I do my best to enhance it and to make a mark that's worthy of what I have structurally, and the beauty of it with all the colors and how it's shaped and everything. When it comes to working with the petrified wood, I'm working with nature, not against nature. Uh, and I'm also working with time, embedded time, and I'm conscious of that. So therefore, what I'm doing is when I put the mark on it, I'm creating an object, an art object now that has presence, that holds an immense amount of time and structure, an immense amount of stress and pressure and rupture to become what it's become. I mean, over 200 million years ago, this thing was actually a living tree. I also work on, I want to mention rocks that are also usually over a billion or 2 billion years old, some of the oldest rocks on the planet, and that's a trip too. You don't want to mess up any of that stuff as well. I mean, I have a whole different way of looking at petrified wood and rocks and nature now than I've ever had. I think what's happened as an artist working with stone, it's just changed me. And I used to paint on canvas and other materials, but this has completely changed me. Um, it's changed the way I work. It's changed the way I think. It's changed the way I look at the world, the earth, the planet, how things got here, everything. Everything's completely changed because of this. And so I'm not working against nature. I'm working with time and nature. Um, Again, this fits everything that I'm into. I mean, I wrote a book called Pressure Systems, and there's a link down below if you want to check it out. But Pressure Systems is all about my art, because my art is about stress, pressure, and rupture. And the rupture is the containment, the transformation, the art, and it's embedded into the stone. That's also holding time and pressure and containment. See, it just comes together and it works together. I hope you completely understand that. I'm trying to explain it the best I can, but I'm taking what I'm holding and I'm putting it into something that's ancient, that's holding time and pressure. And when they come together, it's a beautiful thing. And that's why I paint on petrified wood and ancient stones, and have been for the last 4.5 years. Because once it came to me and I got hooked and the symbol started going on it, I've always done this. And the strangest things, and I'll talk about this later on in some other videos, at the most stressed out pressure points of my life, when my art was kind of being taken from me because of the situation that I was going through, becoming homeless and everything, and I didn't have really a space to paint in anymore. Even though this, where I was ending up, and it had smaller and smaller spaces, it was okay because I could take my rocks and I could paint on them there. I could take the petrified wood and I could make art out of it. And I was using smaller pieces of paper and canvases at the time. But the star of the show was always the petrified wood, because no matter how much stress and pressure I was under, no matter how much limited space I had that and I could paint on it. And so and I don't see myself doing anything different. I think I will be painting on petrified wood and ancient rocks for the rest of my life. I think that's what my practice is and what I was meant here to do. I haven't uh, I haven't painted on a canvas or paper or anything like that in a very long time. It's all stonework that I do. So, hey, I appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back next Sunday with another talk. We'll get a little more deeper and intense with some other stuff. I just wanted to talk about why I do what I do, because I'm showing petrified wood and my art all over that. I also have all over my YouTube site. I also have a link down below to my website, daveholt.art, if you want to check it out. I'm just starting to build that out, and down a lot of really cool stuff on there as well. So I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you.